Good evening, sir. My name is Utkarsh Shukla. I am second year student of NIT-Jamshedpur. And my question to you, what is the true essence of Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga in the spirituality for the student? And how can a student ensure that we will not influence by the any false interpretation of the spirituality?
See, there are three popular paths in spirituality. There are many, but these three are the most popularly accepted ones. So, Bhakti, Karma, and Gyaan. It has to be understood that these three are not isolated or exclusive. They are one. How? The mind is a restless entity. The mind is constantly in a state of discontentment. Do you experience that?
Yes.
It does not matter what the situation is, whether you have won, whether you have lost, whether you are young or old, rich or poor. The mind is never fully satisfied. There always remains something missing. If there always remains something missing, what does that tell about the state of the mind? If there always remains something missing, it means that the mind wants satisfaction. Aren't these two statements equivalent? I say I am constantly dissatisfied, and I say I am constantly in want of satisfaction. Aren't these two statements the same? So the mind is constantly looking for someone, longing for something, is being attracted to something. What is that something? In different contexts, that something has been called as realization, peace, fulfillment. Rest, health, security. So people have known that. They have said, sometimes they say, oh, the mind is constantly wanting peace. Why? Because the mind is in a state of general disquiet, peacelessness. There is an inner violence, an inner strife, a constant inner struggle and churning. So the mind wants peace. That can also be said as that the mind is in love with peace. Similarly, you could say that the mind is in love with realization or freedom. So, those who have known have told us that the mind is a constant lover. The mind is eternally in love. In love with what?
Peace.
Yeah, you could call that peace or understanding or realization or freedom or joy. Whatever suits you in your context. But what is certain is that the mind is always and very deeply wanting something. So that comes first. The deep urge of mind to know, to be blissful, to dissolve, to come to rest. The mind has that deep urge. That deep urge, we are saying, can also be called as a deep love. That deep love is bhakti. Bhakti is love. I am not yet there, but I desperately want to be there. That is love. So, yoga, which is final union, always has to begin with bhakti. And bhakti is not something that you do. Bhakti is your fundamental state of disquiet. The very word bhakti refers to someone who is fragmented, who is separated. Comes from the root bhaj, the same root that gives rise to the word vibhajan. What does vibhajan means? Division.
Separately.
Two separate entities. So here I am, but my utterly desired state is somewhere else. My current state is of lovelessness. My desired state is of absolute love. My current state is of illusion and ignorance. My deeply desired state is of realization and understanding. My current state is of suffering. My loved state is of joy and bliss. So that's the division we are born with. So I'm calling that as the fundamental state in that sense. We are all born lovers and we are separated from our beloved. So bhakti definitely comes first. Bhakti is the most fundamental thing. Bhakti is not something that you need to practice. It is something that you need to realize. You need to realize that you are separated. This realization itself is bhakti. Bhakti is not about following certain rituals or practices or doing certain things in a certain way. It is about realizing that you are not yet inwardly complete. Do you see that? The state that I must have is not the state I currently am in. This is bhakti. And I have a deep, deep longing to reach that beloved state. And that beloved state, when you see it little more closely, it is not even a state at all. It is just a dissolution, but that can be kept aside for the while. So there is a state. Let's just stick to that. There is a state that I must reach, and there is a state that I currently am in. And the state I am in gives me sorrow and frustration and just so much inner restlessness. Do I like this state? I don't like this state. I want to be there. So that I call as my beloved. That which I want to be, that which I must be. And if I don't be that, then I'll be condemned to a life of suffering. That's my beloved. That's where I need to reach. This is bhakti. This is bhakti. Do you understand this? Now, just experiencing that separation is not enough, because we all do experience that separation. What is the proof of that separation, of that experience? The proof of that experience is that we are restless, we are anxious, we feel insecure, we feel jealous, we feel jittery in front of several kinds of fears. So we know that there is a separation. We experience it. But do we totally realize the nature of that separation? If we do not realize that, then we'll be like a patient who will experience the symptoms of the disease but will never know what the disease actually is. Is experiencing the same as understanding? Please tell me. Is experiencing the same as understanding? You can experience something for 100 years of your life without understanding it even one bit. Is that not true? You make a cat sit in front of a laptop and she can sit there for 10 years and experience what is going on without understanding any bit of what's really going on. So we experience the separation, but merely experiencing the separation will not end the separation. How do you end the separation? By knowing the nature of the separation, by knowing the nature of the separated ones. Who am I? Now this is Gyaan Yoga. So after Bhakti comes Gyaan. After Bhakti comes Gyaan. Do you see that Gyaan is a very, very obvious follower of Bhakti? Do you see you cannot have Gyaan without Bhakti, and you cannot have Bhakti that doesn't lead to Gyaan? And then once you realize what the nature of that separation is, how come you have landed in your present state? Where does all the turmoil and the strife come from? Once you have seen that, then your actions change. You stop chasing your animal instincts and your egoistic desires. You start seeing that all the desires that you have will keep you basically separated from your beloved. You need just one desire, which is to unite with the beloved. All other desires are just distractions that will continue your state of sorrow and separation. And so you invest all your energy in just one fundamental desire, and you keep the other desires away. You say, I'm young and I have energy and I have time, and that has to be very rightly invested. I'll invest all my time in just one desire, because my fundamental sorrow is separation from that one. That one. Therefore, all my desire must be targeted towards just that one. Hence, I must have how many desires? Just one. So all the other desires must be kept aside. This is called Karma Yoga or Nishkam Karma Yoga. So do you see that Karma Yoga will always follow from Gyaan Yoga? Do you see this? So Bhakti is your very current state. Bhakti is to experience separation. Gyaan is to realize the nature of separation. And karma is to act in a way that ends the separation. These three are one. These three can never be disjoint. So to say that there are three separate paths is to not understand the very nature of our hollowness, our disquiet, and our inner essence. People talk of these three as if these are three different streams leading to the same ocean, and that is how it has been variously depicted as well, right? So there is one stream called the stream of Bhakti, then another stream of Gyaan, then another stream of Karma Yoga. It's not that way at all. These three are one. These three are one. The Bhakt will have to be a Karma Yogi. The Gyaan Yogi will never truly know himself if he does not have a burning desire to know. Atma Gyan. Gyan basically means knowing your own nature. Why am I separated from that beloved state? So Gyan Yoga is knowing yourself, your own nature. Why will you bother to know yourself if the deep desire to have that knowledge is not incinerating you from within? Animals do not know themselves, nor do they want to know themselves. There is no need. Why will a human being invest himself in knowing himself? Because there is love. So it all begins with love. It begins with love, moves to attention, and then becomes action. Love, attention, action. Is that not how it operates even in your daily life? The baby is crying. The baby is crying. Why do you rush to the baby? Love. Once you go to the baby, what do? You pay attention. You pay attention. Why is the baby crying? You realize that the nappy needs to be changed. And then there is action. Love, attention, action. Bhakti Yoga, Gyaan Yoga, Karma Yoga. And these three are one. What kind of mother would be that who would rush to the baby and then find the baby crying and then stand there and clap? Obviously, if there is bhakti, there has to be action. What kind of bhakt would not be a karma yogi? Only some fraudulent kind of bhakt. And what kind of a karma yogi would not be a bhakt? How can you be a desireless actor? Karma yoga does not mean to act in any haphazard random way. Karma yoga is nishkam karma yoga. Acting not for the sake of various random desires. That's nishkam karma yoga. How can you say you are a karma yogi without first of all having that fire of love burning within you? That would be some kind of pretense. No? So these three are one, and it always starts with the experience of separation, which we all anyway do experience. Who does not experience that separation? Look at any person. It's writ large on his or her face. Yes, the fellow is separated. It's right there in our eyes. Is it not? So the experience of suffering is everywhere. Hence, what do we start with? We start with trying to know the nature of suffering. So typically, I start with my people with Gyaan Yoga. Not because Gyaan is superior to Bhakti, but because the experience of separation is anyway there. It is already there. Hence, I try to start with Gyaan Yoga, but not always. There are times when people are not experiencing that separation at all. They say, no, there is no problem, no conflict in life. We are just happy. And then the task of the teacher is to first awaken them to their own sorrow. You have to awaken them to their own sorrow. Unless there is a realization that you are in trouble, why will you try to act to pull yourself out of trouble? And there are a lot of people around who will say, no, we are not in trouble at all. Life is wonderful. Life is beautiful. Everything is hunky-dory. First of all, there has to be a realization of trouble. That is the basis of Bhakti Yoga. Oh, I am separated. That's called Virah or Viyog. Oh, I am separated. I am separated and I would love to be united. I am separated and I would love to be united. That's Bhakti. I am separated and I would love to be united. From Bhakti follows Gyaan. I want to be united, but how do I be united? What caused the separation in the first place? That's Gyaan Yoga, knowing yourself. And once I see that what causes the separation is something petty called ego within me, then I stop listening to the ego. And what does the ego always talk of? Demands and desires, wants, nothing else. That's all that the ego has. The ego is an incomplete entity and is always therefore talking of desires and demands. Give me this, give me that. And when I look closely at myself, I realize that the separation has been caused by the ego. The ego itself is the separation from the beloved. So I stop listening to the ego and I start acting in ways that are very different from the ways of the ego. That is the yoga of action, karma yoga. These three are just the same thing. And in a true seeker, you will find these three together. If the person is genuine, it will be impossible for you to tell whether he is Bhakti Margi or Gyan Margi or Karma Yogi. You cannot tell that. And if you can very clearly say, oh, this fellow belongs to Bhakti, then that fellow is a fraud. If you can very clearly say, oh, he's a Gyan Margi, I do not see any Bhakti in him, then that fellow is an equal fraud. The right person would have all these three concurrently in him or her. Bhakti, Gyan, Karma. When you will look at him in a moment of action, you will feel like saying he is a Karma Yogi. When you will look at him in a moment of meditation, you will feel like saying, oh, he's a Gyan Yogi. And when you will look at the depth of his love, you will be convinced that he is a Bhakti Margi. The fact is, he'll always be all three, depending on the situation. Some part of his personality will come to the fore. So sometimes you will think he is a man of action. When I say he, it includes she, all mankind, just old habit, nothing else. In the moment of action, you will feel like saying, oh, he is a Karma Yogi. See, all the time he is just acting, working, doing. When you will maybe speak to him to understand something, you will say, oh, he is a Gyan Yogi. Look at the depth of his realization. Look at his eyes and his mind. He just scans through all the nonsense. He can see through us and through himself. So he is a Gyan Margi. And when you will look at the underlying foundation of his life, you will only find love. Only find love. And then you will say, oh, no, we were mistaken. He's a Bhakt. He's a devotee. Any of these conclusions is just partial and incomplete. The complete fact is that the genuine individual has to be the three at once. All three together at once. A devotee, a seeker of truth, and an actor. In action, he will be unstoppable. In realization, he will be ruthless. He will not spare the ego. The ego will say, no, do not know me, because when you throw some light on me, I suffer. The ego revels in darkness, no? So Gyan is something that the ego hates. The moment you throw light on ego, the ego starts to vaporize like the vampires you have in the movies. And when you will try to understand why he is acting the way he does, why he wants to look deeply at life, at people, at himself, at environment, at animals, at everything, then you will realize, oh, maybe the love is not visible on the surface, but this chap is acting surely only from love. So he is definitely a devotee. These three have to go hand in hand. Never try to compartmentalize spirituality. You see, the mind anyway lives in this kind of division and compartmentalization, does it not? Do you want to extend the same kind of division to spirituality as well? Will that be a spiritual thing? In everything in life, there are divisions. Now, if in spirituality too you create divisions, is that spirituality or just good old worldliness?
The whole thing.
That's just worldliness. So do not fall for these things that there are three separate paths. Sometimes they say there are four separate paths. The fourth path, they say, is of Ashtanga Yoga or Raja Yoga or such things. Nothing. There is just one thing. The mind is here, and the mind is deeply in love with something that it does not even know of. And why does the mind not know what it's deeply in love with? Because the mind does not know itself. The mind does not know itself. So spirituality has to begin with, first of all, a realization that you are suffering, which is bhakti. And then an inquiry into who the sufferer is. That is Gyaan. Okay? And once Gyaan is there, action naturally follows. Have I made myself clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I have one follow-up question. Like many
Great, go ahead.
organizations in the mark of bhakti, they just promote the singing, dancing, these type of things. So can you say like it's a way of bhakti?
Aren't we singing right now? Why does singing have to be a particular pre decided pattern of movement of body? Please tell me. Or dancing. Why can't we say that right now it's a big song and dance going on here? Hmm? And if in the dance steps have to be taught, is that not just a repetition of patterns? I'm asking you. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you practice that so much. And when 5 people do that in unison, it looks nice to the eye. What is dance? What is song? Please realize that. Obviously, life has to be a song, and your movements have to be dance like. Then you have to ask yourself, what is the difference between normal movement and dance? Normal movement is conditioned. You move usually so that you can benefit from some direction, right? If a man is moving towards a particular place, chances are that he is going there to benefit from that place, correct?
Hmm.
So intentional movement, desirous movement is the normal regular thing. And if you can move without caring for rewards, can we call that as dance? Will that be all right? Will that be all right? If dance is to be defined as the stuff that dancers do on stage, then an 85-year-old can never dance. Why are you excluding that fellow from dancing? If dance is a repetition of a particular pattern of bodily steps, then can an 85-year-old dance? Very difficult. So, dance has to be defined in a deeper way. If you can move without bothering for who is looking at you and what you will get from the movement, let's call that as dance. If you can speak without bothering for rhyme, rhythm, sense, and what the listeners will think of you, whether your speech will fetch you any honors, let's call that singing. Let's call that singing. Or is singing about just crooning something with melody? That would be a very elementary, very basal definition of song or singing. Do you get this? So, yes, in love you do sing and dance. But let's not have very definite, very rigid images or definitions of these two words, singing and dancing. Dancing, if it is of any value, must happen all the time. Singing, if it is of any value, must happen all the time. But if dancing is a synchronized movement of the body, then how do I dance when I am answering your questions? But I would like to insist that I am dancing even now. I'm dancing even now. So dancing needs to have a deeper definition. And singing too needs to have a deeper definition. And yes, the person in love indeed does sing and dance all the time. A great saint, a very blissful one to listen to, had something to say in this regard. What did he say? जिस तन लगिया इश्क कमाल, नाचे बेसुर ते बेताल. That does not mean that he is constantly moving about the body in rhythmic patterns of dancing. No, if he does that, he'll be soon exhausted and fall down. Nobody can do that all the day. What is dance? It is your expression when there is love in the heart. Jis tan lagiya ishq kamal. When there is love in the heart, and what is love? That is devotion. Love itself is bhakti. Devotion towards what? That which you are not but must be. Bhakti is not about being devoted to some image that you have cultivated as per your ego. No. If you are devoted to some image arising from your own mind, can we call that as bhakti? No, not at all. You are already living in a world of images. So bhakti is the urge to gain freedom from your inner world of images and thoughts and concepts and ideas and prejudices, etc. In the name of devotion, if you start acting as if you are devoted to a particular story or to a particular concept or to a particular name or form, can that really be called as devotion? No. Because all that is coming from your own mind. If you are devoted to all that, then de facto you are devoted to your own mind. And if the mind is devoted to itself, will that lead it anywhere? No. It's like a man falling in love with his own image or shadow. Will he gain any satisfaction? So those who worship stories and names and forms in the name of bhakti are just worshipping their own shadows. They will not get anything from that. It is at best an illusion or entertainment for some time. You're looking at your own inflated image in some special kind of mirror and falling in love with it and making a big deal of it. Think of it. There are mirrors who can transform your image. No? Don't you have mirrors of that kind? So it's yourself you're looking at, but the mirror has totally changed your name and form and shape. And you say, no, that is my God. That's not your God. That's who you are. You're looking at your own shape, your own prejudices, your own self, and worshipping it. So that kind of thing is just ego worship. Ego worshipping itself. That does not take the ego anywhere. Are you getting it? So, jis tan lagiya ishq kamal. That love is everything. That's where everything begins from. And that's why devotion is the most fundamental thing. It is more fundamental than even Gyaan or realization. I often ask my audiences when they say, no, we are not understanding what you are saying. Then my question is, niyat hai kya? Chahte bhi ho? Do you even want it? Do you even desire it? Is there an intent to understand? If in spite of all that has been said and heard, you are still not understanding, then I have to question whether the preliminary condition has been fulfilled. And before Gyaan, there must be bhakti. So then I ask them, do you have bhakti? Do you have bhakti? If you do not have bhakti, then Gyaan will fail on you. So if I am saying so much to you and yet you are not able to come to be united with it, then it means chahte nahi ho. There is no desire, there is no love, which means bhakti is missing. If bhakti is missing, Gyaan will fail. For my words to really transform into your inner understanding, first of all, you must have a deep desire to understand. That deep desire to understand is itself bhakti. All else that you see in the name of bhakti is nonsense, entertainment. People trying to fool themselves. And we have done that. We have fooled ourselves no end. And we have called ourselves bhakts and devotees. Bhakti is a most sacred thing. It is more fundamental than even Gyaan. More fundamental. But bhakti is a thing of inner honesty. You have to acknowledge by yourself that you are suffering. One characteristic of Bhakt is that he acknowledges his suffering. He very honestly, unabashedly admits, I am not all right. The one who can admit I am not all right, but I want to be all right. These two things have to be said at once. I am not all right, but I want to be all right. That's the mark of bhakti. I'm not there, but I want to be there. I'm separated, but I want to be united. That's the mark of devotion. When that acknowledgement is there, when that admission is there, then knowledge can be of benefit. Only then a teacher can really mean something to you. If you look at the Upanishads, they do not really begin with bhakti. They begin straight away with Gyaan. How do they manage to begin straight away with Gyaan? Because the seeker already had bhakti. The Upanishads rarely use the term prem. See, there are more than 250 Upanishads. I do not claim I have read every single one of them, or that even if I have read all of them, I remember every word of them. But right now in my memory, I do not recall the Upanishads using the word prem too much. At least the principal Upanishads don't. How is it that the Upanishads have managed to bypass bhakti? Because they have taken it for granted. They are saying, if this fellow has come to me, the seer is there, the rishi, and the rishi is saying, if this fellow has come to me, obviously he already has devotion. So there is no need to teach devotion to him or to kindle devotion in him. He already has it, otherwise why would he come to me? He can go to any other place of his desire. Instead of going to places that fulfill his normal desires, he has come to this old man in this God-forsaken jungle, sitting here, and all the insects might be biting him. And so surely he already has devotion. Therefore, the Upanishads manage to bypass bhakti. They say bhakti is already there. Now let's move to Gyaan. But in case there are people who do not have the acknowledgement of their suffering, then Gyaan will go waste on them. And then the teacher should not immediately begin with Gyaan. Then the teacher should first of all sensitize them to their suffering. Are you getting it? Because even if you shower a lot of Gyaan, it will go waste. So first of all, tell them, son, you are in a bad shape. Or daughter, see how badly you suffer. Please realize that. The problem is, when you make somebody realize that he or she is suffering, often that fellow thinks that you are causing her or him to suffer. No, you are not causing that person to suffer. You are only exposing to him, revealing to him that he is already suffering. So that's the tricky part, and that's often a very difficult part. To make someone realize I'm not good, I'm not all right, but I must be all right. I'm not all right and I must not give up. Being all right is my birthright. That's what I have come to this life for. This all rightness, what do you call it in classical terms? Liberation. This all rightness. I have been born to be all right. I'm not all right, but I must be all right. I must be all right. That is called liberation. But that acknowledgement must be there. Often that acknowledgement is not there because we console ourselves with a lot of superficial happiness. We say, I have money, or I am young, my body is disease free, I am well educated, I have a nice job, I have a nice family, I have this and that. So there is nothing missing in life. Why should I go to someone and acknowledge that I am suffering? The thing is, suffering does not always come in the name of the word suffering. Suffering comes by many other names. Ambition is another name for suffering. Now, many people will cringe at this. They will say, no, ambition is the fuel for improvement and progress. How are you calling ambition as suffering? Please, sir, pay attention. If you will look at where ambition, your ambition really comes from, you will realize it is coming from your inner gnawing sense of incompleteness. Ambition is definitely suffering. And progress does not necessarily have to come from ambition. Progress can come from desireless exploration as well. Progress does not really have to come from self-centered, desirous action. Great progress can come from desireless effort as well. And suffering can come in the garb of many other names. For example, the urge for security. The fellow is a sucker for security. All the time he's saying, how do I make my future secure? You are suffering. That's why you have such a deep urge for security. But you'll not acknowledge that. You'll not acknowledge that. So we all suffer. It's just that suffering has taken on more respectable names in current times. It therefore often has to be exposed that you are suffering. It all begins from there. It all begins with an acknowledgement that I am not all right. If you're not all right, then you must be all right, and you must have a love towards all rightness. That is bhakti. And if you have a love towards all rightness, then you want to see what is it that prevents you from being all right. That's Gyaan. That's Gyaan. And once you have seen what prevents you from all right, can you continue to act in the same old ways? No. Your actions totally change. Your actions become ego-free, and that's Nishkam Karma Yoga. So these three are just one.